Hello, welcome to the Shetland Times podcast. I'm your host, Thor Hall. And before we meet today's guest, do remember we'd love to get your suggestions for who you would like to hear on the show. Go to shetlandtimes.co.uk or head to the Facebook page. So today's guest is Will Irvine from the band Hunter and the Bear. And the mandatory Google search reveals that Hunter and the Bear are the heroes British rock needs right now. They didn't say that themselves. I think that was the Huffington Post. And they're known as Not Too Unpleasant by my mother-in-law, who was round last night when I was listening to their song You Can Talk on their website, hunterandthebear.co.uk. So I'm really hoping there's some kind of complex story behind their superb name. Will Irvine, hello, how are you doing?
Hi, yeah, I'm very good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
So, other than my mother-in-law's damning faint praise, Not Too Unpleasant, tell us the story behind your band name, because it's superb, Hunter and the Bear.
Firstly, I want to say to your mother-in-law, thank you very much for the kind words, because that is better than a lot of write-ups we've got in the past. So I'll take that. The band name, so we started off as a duo. It was me and Jimmy, who's our lead guitarist with big beard. Yeah. And his surname is Hunter.
Okay.
When I was growing up, people used to call me Bear for a number of different reasons. But yeah, we kind of, as you do when you're starting a band, you go through hundreds of terrible names, and none of which I'm prepared to reveal because they're too embarrassing.
Hold on though, Will, hold on. You're not getting off that lightly. Bear Grylls is called Bear Grylls because apparently his big sisters used to feed him raw bacon and he would eat it. So they said he was like a little bear, he would eat anything. Why were you called Bear? You can't get away with just saying for a number of reasons.
It was kind of similar to Bear Grylls, but I was never fed raw bacon. But I was basically like a dustbin when it came to food. Yeah. So I would eat everyone's leftovers, and I was just a little chubster. So that's where that came from.
I love it.
So we just decided to go with Hunter and the Bear. And it kind of, as soon as we decided it just started to feel normal. And yeah, we've obviously added to the band now, so we're no longer a duo. We're a 4-piece with Chris and Gareth on bass and drums. And we considered, whether we'd need to change it when they joined, but it was fine. Gareth is the and Chris is the. So.
Lucky guys. So you obviously didn't all run into each other in, now I can't even pronounce, the town you're from, is it Achiltibui? Is that right?
Achiltibui, yeah.
Is that where you're from? Because you don't, same as I don't sound like a Shetlander, although I was born and brought up there, you don't sound to me like I might expect coming from Achiltibui.
Yeah,
I haven't been.
Achiltibui, yeah. Well, yeah, I've lived in London now for about 5 years, and my mum is also English, so I'm kind of I'm British, I suppose. But yeah, I was brought up there, went to school there, and then I went away to university in Newcastle, which is where me and Jimmy started kind of jamming. Really, he taught me how to play the guitar, because before that I hadn't even really got into it. Yeah. And then we moved to London with the idea of playing gigs as a duo, and then found the other two guys down there, so we sort of grabbed them and started playing as a 4-piece.
Cool. So it was you and Jimmy were the first two.
Yeah.
So what was it about Jimmy that meant he was a good guy to form this duo with in the first place? Was it like drinking abilities or what?
I still ask myself that every day. He's got a number of factors about him that make him an attractive business partner, I suppose. But no, yeah, he's a very good drinking partner, which obviously helps in a band scenario. He is a very good musician, which is the main thing, and he's just all around good guy. So yeah, it was a pretty easy decision. I kind of wonder why he wanted to do it with me more often, but.
Don't do yourself down, Bear. Come on now.
Well, it's happening now, so there's no going back.
So, are you guys like old-time rock? as in you go around smashing guitars in hotel rooms. Should the Lerwick Hotel and the Shetland Hotel be concerned that you are going to be trashing the joint when you get there?
Tell the Lerwick Hotel to get their security sorted for that night. No, I'm kidding. We are not really like that. No, I'd love to say that we are, but we're not. We're kind of our music on stage is really, really sort of high energy and ferocious, I guess. And my favourite word that we've been described as is thunderous. I like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as people, we're not poser rock. We don't go around pretending to be something we're not. We're just four dudes that like playing rock music.
Well, your generation really worries me. I mean, I'm 43, and I can still remember when it was just the done thing to have a fist fight to sort out a dispute. And you're the generation that defriends people on Facebook instead, aren't you?
Well, I guess so. I mean, that's not something I would do, but I suppose people of our age, that's kind of where things get sorted out these days on social media. But it's a very odd concept, isn't it?
It is. Don't worry. Once you get to the Legion in Shetland in May, what is it? May the 26th, I think you're there. Maybe the Legion will be more old school, and you can.
I hope so.
They can involve you in some of that more old-fashioned rock and roll.
Or have some fisticuffs outside the Legion.
I'm sure it's been done before. Our listeners will, no doubt, some of them will have been involved in just such a thing. Great. So your new single, is it DRK, just came out? DRK. Is that right?
That is right. Yeah, it came out on Tuesday, which is exciting. We've been releasing one single every month for the last 8 months, and we've got two more to come out before the album comes out in May. Mm-hmm. So it's been a super busy time for us because, before that we'd released a sprinkling of songs, but to have the workload of doing a track every month, and also each track has got its own music video too. Mm-hmm. So we've been kind of pedal to the metal in terms of busyness, which is great because bands love to be busy.
Yeah. Certainly, if you're getting paid to be busy, that's awesome. What's all this about bringing the boom, though, Will? Because on social media, I check you guys out on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle, by the way? Since I'm on that,
it's at Hunter the Bear, because someone has Hunter and the Bear. But I'm going to track him down one day and
defriend him.
Defriend him so hard. Yeah, so that's our Twitter handle.
So bringing the boom. Yeah, bringing the boom. What's all that about?
Boom thing, I don't really know where that came from. There's just people write to us all the time on social media, and they just say all this weird and wonderful stuff, and quite a lot of them sort of end with just boom. They're like, You guys smashed it last night, loved the gig, boom. Yeah. And we've kind of started to sort of pick up on it a little bit when we're doing posts and stuff. I think I said with the DRK release, it was like, new song DRK out today. Here comes the boom. I don't know. It's just a sort of silly little thing, but it's not something that's going to be. Just
a thought for you, Will. Maybe you could swap out the Bear nickname for yourself with Boom. Hunter and the Boom.
Although Mr. Boom is a man that used to come when I was a wee boy. He used to come to Acklesy Buoy and play concerts, and he was a sort of one-man band. He had stamp his feet and had a guitar and sort of piano on his back and all this. Mr. Boom, the man from the moon, he was my hero for a good amount of years.
So a role model for your future solo career then?
Absolutely, yeah. He's going to be sort of, that's what I'm going to aim at when the solo career kicks off. Which is not going to do, by the way. That will never happen.
If any of your fellow bandmates are listening in. Okay, cool. Yeah. So what's the new, is it the debut album, Paper Heart, is that right?
Yeah, it's our first album. It's called Paper Heart, and it's crazy. I mean, when we started this, as I said, kind of just jamming in our room at uni and going out and playing to the drunken masses of Newcastle, we never thought that we'd get to a place where we could even dream of recording and releasing an album. And so it's just an absolute pleasure to be doing it. And we're really happy with how everything's sounding. And we can't wait for people to hear it and to be able to put the physical copy in people's hands will be such a nice thing.
Do people still buy? You mentioned physical copy. Sorry, I talked over you there, Will, but you mentioned physical copy. Do people still buy like CDs? It's just that I haven't seen them for a while, and I would tend to, that just doesn't seem to be how they get consumed. Does that still even happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's a mix. It's something for us as a band. We need to have that option for people, because a lot of people, still only listen on things like that. But you're totally right. Like the shift is now everything's online, everything's streamed, which is also fine. It's just part of the landscape that we need to get used to. So we like to just give all options. I mean, when we're up in Shetland, we'll have CDs with us, but obviously the album will be out by that point, so anyone can just go online and listen on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever it might be. And also we're hoping to have a vinyl press as well.
Cool.
We're going to do a limited run of vinyl because we love listening on vinyl. So
yeah, nice. Will you have that in Shetland?
If there's any left, we will have it. But we're
wait a minute. We want some prioritisation for Shetland. You're on the Shetland Times podcast here, Will.
Well, the Shetland date is the last date of the Scotland part of the tour, and the plan is to get a limited run of vinyl made, because they're really expensive to get made, and secondly, we don't know how many people will want them. It might be something that no one wants to buy, so it would be a bit mad of us to just get loads. So our plan is to do a bit of a limited run, and I'm sure we'll have some left. We can save some especially for Shetland.
How about keeping one or two for listeners to the podcast and having it as some kind of prize or something, because
that could work.
I just think, it intrigues me. I love the idea of it. Even if I don't have a record player, but I'd still want the vinyl, because you could have signed the cover or whatever. That would be well cool.
Yeah, I think that's the plan, because there's not going to be that many of them. Like we'll sign every one, and they'll be maybe numbered by hand or something cool like that. But that's the plan. But we'll make sure we save some for you.
Was that the noise of one of your many fans bringing you gifts?
Yeah, that was just a gift being placed down next to me by a fan.
You're going to tell me in a minute. You're going to tell me in a minute it was your mum. You're back home and it was your mum bringing you a cup of tea.
Yeah, no, I wish I was back home in Acklebury, but I'm not. Sadly, my mum is nowhere to be seen. But yeah, I'm in London right now.
Got you. Okay. So have you been to Shetland before? You haven't been to Shetland before, have you?
Never been. I've always wanted to get up there. I've heard such good things about it. It's always eluded me. I've been as far as Orkney, but I've never made it up. But yeah, I'm super excited. It's kind of where I'm from. Acklebury is really, really remote and kind of mountainous, and the sea and the islands and all that kind of stuff. So I'm used to that scene, and that's what I love, and that's what I sort of crave when I'm here in London or in any other city. So I can't wait to get up there and check it out.
You're right. You know what? When you said that, it gave me goose pimples, because you're so right. Like, I'm coming from Shetland myself. You do kind of miss it, don't you, when you're not in that kind of environment? I do live sort of out in the countryside, so I get a bit of a fix of it. But I agree with you. When you're in London or one of the big cities, it's just totally different, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of people, and there's a lot going on, which can be great. And for what we're doing, it's good for us to be sort of amongst it, in a big city. But it's good for the soul to get home, I think.
So you mentioned it being good for the soul. Where would you say your songwriting ideas come from? Is it you that writes them, or do you write them as a band? How does that actually work, and where do the ideas come from?
So we've kind of kept it as the original setup. So Jimmy and myself, we write everything together, and then we'll bring in the boys, or we'll take the songs to the boys, and we'll kind of build them from there. We'll get the bass and drums on there and work out cool ideas for that. But yeah, we write all the sort of melodies and lyrics and things. In terms of ideas, it's really anything, anything that takes your imagination for a second. We travel a lot, so there's lots of, the themes of the album. A lot of it's about people that we meet on the road. A lot of it is, missing home and places that we've been, and just kind of stories we hear, and honestly anything. this album is kind of become, as we've been writing it, we've kind of realized that it's an album about people, and we never really intended it to be that. We never sit down to write a song and think like this is what we have to write. It's kind of just what comes naturally and what we want to write. We never do a brief or anything. And yeah, it turns out we write a lot about people and feelings and desires and things like that. So that's kind of what the album is about. But obviously each song within that is completely individual. But yeah, there's I mean, we carry around little notepads with us the whole time, and anything that sort of sparks your brain, we're always just writing down little lines, or it could be anything, and something like that is a really good starting point for a song. Just like even one line, that a story can blossom from there. Or sometimes we've got pages and pages of stuff that, if you meet someone and they really annoy you, or you fall in love with them, or whatever it might be, you just write and write and write, and then I find it's like anything, like the more prep you do, the easier it is to write. A lot of the time we'll sit down and we'll have a song written in sort of 30 minutes, or at least the sort of bones of the song. That's kind of when you've got a good one, because if it's really, really difficult and tedious to draw the words out, it's sometimes kind of, you should just cut your losses. And we write all the time, so we end up sort of binning a lot of material. Yeah. Which I think is good. We try and be our own quality control police. But yeah, it's sometimes hard. That's why I love writing as a pair, because you've got that filter. You can kind of bounce ideas off each other, and we know each other so well now that it's kind of, we're happy to say, oh, that's a terrible idea, or but we come up with all sorts of stuff, and not all of it's amazing. So you need to have that person sat across from you saying, oh no, that's rubbish. Yeah, and it seems to work for now.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get the idea that to be creative, you're going to be like struck by some amazing bolt of creativity, and maybe it's not like that. With a lot of the work I do, you'll be trying to help someone come up with a message or an idea for a presentation, say, or a speech, and yeah, it's as if people do expect like a bolt from the blue, whereas, as you say, Will, it's often just generating more and more ideas and material until suddenly something might click, and then something else clicks, and then before you know it, there's something really cool's happened. But yeah, that makes total sense to me. So tell us a story then. It could be anything. It could be a story you haven't told before, or something from your youth, or something from your travels, because you mentioned people that you fall in love with, that you meet, or people that you meet and they're a bit strange or whatever. Just let your brain go and give us a story you haven't told before.
So would you like a story from one of the songs from the album, or would you like just a general story?
Well, that would make sense if you were an expert marketer, but I'm not bothered if you do that or not. Just tell me a story.
Okay, so I'll do the song that you mentioned at the start. You Can Talk, which your mother-in-law said wasn't terrible.
Thanks, Sue.
Love Sue. Yeah. And yeah, so that song was written. We went and played a gig. I'm not going to say where it was, because I don't want people to start speculating about who the person is. Yeah. But we went and played a gig, and we meet all kinds of weird and wonderful people on our travels. But the 99.9% of them are great and really, really nice and supportive and awesome. But this was the anomaly. We got chatting to this guy that was sort of working in the venue temporarily, and he just, every single thing he said we knew was a complete flat out lie.
Yeah.
It was just tall tales, that kind of person that's just everything they say, or everything you say, they've done that, and they've done it bigger, and they've done it better, and yeah, they're sort of outdoing everyone. Yeah. None of us are like that. We're not sort of show-offy in any way, so we kind of, just saying random stuff, just making small talk with this guy we've just met, and every single thing that we said, he was like, oh yeah, no, I did that too, and yeah, actually when I did it, this happened, which made it better. And, he told us some outrageous stuff. He told us that he'd been shot, and then when we asked to see the scar, because he said he'd been shot in the hand. Yeah. When we asked to see the scar, he was like, "Oh no, it didn't scar because of some crazy thing." And there's like one thing after another. There was something else that he'd been in jail for like 6 years for dealing drugs, and the guy was like 19. Yeah. It's like, there's no way that that's true. Plus, he was from a different country, so like, you know, you wouldn't have been allowed to come and work in this country had you done that. Basically, we completely saw through this guy, and it was so irritating that we were all just sort of looking at each other like, oh my God, this guy. And we ended up the next morning, we wrote the song You Can Talk, which was purely just a really honest answer to everything that he'd been saying, and to sort of him as a character, because we didn't want to be those guys that sort of called him out on it and, you know, had a big thing. So we just let him say his piece, and that was fine. But then the song was kind of our riposte to him, really. So that's
an ode to BS merchants everywhere.
An ode to the BSer, yeah.
I love it.
King of the BSers.
I love it. What else was I going to ask you about? I've got a few notes here. I got my boom question in. Oh yeah, how can people connect with you? Obviously, I've gone and followed you on Twitter, and you mentioned that Hunter the Bear on Twitter, isn't it? Are you guys, you use Instagram, Facebook, all those kind of things? If so, and there's any difference in names, feel free to chuck that out there. And what's the website? I think I maybe mentioned that. hunterandthebear.co.uk.
Yeah. So we're really active on our social media stuff. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat even, and we try and update as much as we can when we're traveling around and doing interesting things. And yeah, our Facebook and Instagram is just Hunter and the Bear. You can find that, and we've kind of built a really nice community on there of people who are really into the music and are also kind of, you know, really really vocal about just getting in touch with us, and we love it because it's a good source of feedback, and it's a nice way to connect with fans and people. So that is something that you should get on if you're liking what we're doing.
Tinder?
And we're not on Tinder. We should go on Tinder though. We should get on Tinder as a band. We come as a package.
I think Tinder in Shetland is maybe a limited resource, but I couldn't swear to that as I've never been on. Honest, Mrs. Holt, if you're listening.
It'd be the same sort of three people just like yesing and knowing each other the whole time.
I wouldn't like to say. I have no idea. As I say, no comment.
Well, maybe we'll get a little Tinder profile set up for when we go up to Shetland.
I think it's worth a try.
Yeah, don't see why not. We've got to take our chances when we can.
So what about? Sorry, mate. I think I interrupted you there. What were you saying?
No, that was done.
I was going to ask. Oh yeah, I was going to ask for a freebie. I was going to say, can you get me a ticket for your 25th of May in Aberdeen gig? In all seriousness,
yes.
there'll be Shetlanders in Aberdeen, so it's maybe worth mentioning. You're gigging. Where are you playing in Aberdeen on the 25th? Do you remember where you are?
Yeah, we're playing a venue called the Tunnels.
Oh, okay.
It's a really, really cool little place. It's kind of under this big underpass, and it's really, really good sound system, and it's a really nice room. We've played there once before on our sort of first ever Scotland run, and it was busy, but it wasn't full. So we want to sell it out this time, and I can absolutely get you in. I'll just stick your name on the guest list. It would be a pleasure to write Thor on the guest list. That'd be all.
Good man. Okay, well it'll need to be Thor and another, i.e. Mrs. Holt, not some random Tinder personage.
No, that's fine. I'll try not to get you in trouble. I'll remember that. I won't say Thor. Thor plus Tinder date.
Yeah, Thor plus Tinder date. No, Thor plus Katie, Mrs. Holt. Yes, okay, nice one. That'd be great. Seriously though, it'll be good to hear how you get on in Shetland as you've not been. So we'll maybe check in with you after your trip up for the 26th of May at the Legion. And really appreciate your time this morning, Will. Thanks for coming on the Shetland Times podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Hope you enjoyed my conversation with Will Irvine from Hunter and the Bear. Please Go and visit the shetlandtimes.co.uk or the Facebook page. Suggest people you'd like to hear us interview and feedback on the interviews. And remember, this is the Shetland Times podcast, and there are potentially sponsorship opportunities on the show for Shetland businesses or businesses who'd like to make an impact in Shetland. Also remember that the Shetland Times itself can create high-profile, attention-grabbing marketing and advertising for your business. See you next time.